What's going on, loners? We're back again with another video, coming at you from a different location currently, but
in a different time of day.
Yeah. So we hope y'all are doing well, and we just want to say we appreciate everyone who's been liking, commenting, and subscribing.
We hit 600 subscribers
on the vlog channel. Yeah. Thank you guys. We appreciate it, and if you haven't yet, make sure to go over and like and subscribe. Okay, we really appreciate it.
Yes. Why do you look at me for
All right, this is
I'm like, no, we actually don't. Why
episode 105. Roll the intro. All right, so today we're gonna do a video called "Why the U.S. Government Decides the Color of Our Food." And this is pretty interesting, actually, because I've never really thought about this.
I think I know why, but it's obvious.
The only reason I could think of is like to make it more appealing to the eye.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Or make it look like it's more fresh than it actually is.
Yeah, deceiving. But all right.
But it's like also, if you think about it, we're trained to think certain colors of certain things are fresh. Whereas if we had never seen that, we probably would be like, yeah, that's what it naturally should look like, right? Anyway, okay, go.
All right, let's begin.
When walking through a grocery store, we expect food to be certain colors. Oranges are orange, salmon is pink, and pickles are yellowish green. But what if I told you that this isn't necessarily true?
Shut up.
Unlike candy or cereal, we assume that the color of natural foods are a result of the environment. But some aren't actually the color we assume.
Oh, damn.
That's because the government...
That was like Red Dye 40, huh?
I would
It
assume
looked
so.
like it going in
red.
there. Yeah, that's wild.
Environment plays a key role in determining the colors of your food. And for that, we can thank the Margarine Wars of the late 19th century.
Oh, I thought he was talking about
In the
cheddar cheese.
1860s, butter was expensive. Without refrigeration, the product spoiled quickly. In response, the French invented a cheaper alternative called margarine. It was made by churning beef tallow, a form of animal fat, with salt and milk. Margarine was a similar tasting spread, but was less expensive and took longer to spoil. But unlike butter, margarine was white, the color of lard. So manufacturers added a yellow dye in order to appeal to consumers' palates conditioned by the color of butter. By the 1870s, margarine was flying off American shelves. Meanwhile, butter sales were falling. So the American...
What? Because I have always thought, this is going to sound really bad coming from someone who went to culinary school, but this is not something we've talked about. I have always thought that margarine was basically a healthier alternative, healthier as in it's just not as much fat as butter. Like it's like pretty much oil.
I didn't even know what margarine was.
Hard oil. That's, I can't believe it's not butter.
That's what, so it's margarine.
Yeah, because it's not butter. So I don't know if it's still the same practice, but you good?
Yeah.
But what the fuck? Like, it's just lard?
I had no idea.
Like, I didn't know it was just animal fat. I didn't know that. I thought it was like oil.
I didn't even know what margarine was. Like I said.
That's really bizarre. I wonder if that's still the
case.
Do
people still use it? I'm guessing
all
with
the time.
Huh.
Also, it's cheaper than butter. So, yeah, people use it instead of butter because it kind of tastes like butter.
But I can't believe it's not butter.
Right. I need.
The dairy industry launched a propaganda campaign against margarine. The campaign published articles citing the use of dangerous ingredients and used obscene cartoons depicting the wretched conditions of factories. In 1886, the government passed the Oleomargarine Act to appease butter manufacturers. It permitted the coloring of margarine, but aimed to restrict sales by adding a 2-cent tax per pound, whether it was colored or not. The The act marked one of the first instances in which an industry pursued government intervention in an effort to stop competition. But this wasn't enough for dairy farmers, and they continued to seek government legislation. By the end of the century, 26 states had enacted anti-color laws that completely prohibited the coloring of margarine.
That's good.
Some states went as far as making manufacturers dye margarine pink
What?
so that consumers could discern the difference in product.
What is dyeing it pink better than dyeing
It's so
it
that
yellow?
they can't trick people because
Yeah.
I guess they're trying to pass it off as butter.
But if you don't read the label, that's on you, right?
I don't know.
Well,
This is weird.
This should be more of a label issue versus a color issue. Granted, you shouldn't be coloring the food, period. But like changing the color is kind of weird.
Yeah.
In 1902, the federal government took it a step further and added a 10-cent tax on artificially dyed margarine, while the tax on naturally colored was reduced to a quarter of a cent. In order to avoid the tax, margarine producers started using vegetable oil as a natural dye and even sold color capsules along with the white margarine so that consumers could color it at home. The Margarine Wars were coming to a close, but the war on food dye was just beginning.
What? How? Why? Why would they do that?
I have no idea.
Like, they're making you do the work to
There was
brainwash yourself.
There was less things going on in the world at this time.
But it's just funny for someone to sell it as a side. Like,
I know. Yeah.
Just mix it in.
Almost like a making it fun thing.
That's almost like insulting. Well, actually, I guess it's actually more insulting to not. I don't know. That's weird.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
In 1906, the Food and Drugs Act banned the use of harmful coloring without labeling to conceal damage or inferiority. The government certified 7 colors for food use, not only because they were considered harmless, but because they were heavily used. However, the use of them was not required. Manufacturers could still use uncertified colors as long as they were
Jello,
labeled
yeah.
with ingredients. And American consumers still bought them.
If we didn't use coloring, our food products would look a lot different than they look. It may affect people's
Sales.
decision whether to buy a food
Yeah.
product or not. But in addition to that, colors can also be used as a way to enhance flavoring or more importantly, to enhance freshness.
What we see on our plate determines
It's not enhancing freshness.
I think it's enhancing the illusion of freshness.
Yeah, that's different than enhancing freshness.
Yeah, it makes it look fresher than it is. It doesn't actually.
I mean, I don't know.
Make it fresher.
Is there maybe there is like a way to preserve the food better with the color? I don't know. But like I was saying in the beginning, if we had never thought this is what an orange should look like, then the original way it looks would just be enough.
Yeah.
But like, we grow up thinking like, okay, this is what it should look like. This is what whatever looks like. But just don't put that in people's head from the beginning. It doesn't make sense.
how we taste. During one study by the British researcher J.C. Wheatley in the 1970s, participants ate steak and fries in a dark room. Subjects stated the food tasted normal, but midway through the meal, scientists turned on the lights to reveal that the steak was dyed blue and the fries green. Many participants became ill or lost their appetite merely at the sight. The experiment showed how our brains can alter the taste of food depending on our perception of color. In the early 1900s,
Again, I'm going to be annoying as fuck and say this. Because we grew up thinking fries look this color and steak looks this color. If we had never seen steak in our life or seen fries in our life, we probably would be like, wow, that's really interesting that blue thing tastes like that.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
I do get what you mean, yeah. But what is the natural color?
Like green eggs and ham, okay? If I know what eggs taste like, and then all of a sudden somebody brings me green eggs, I'm probably psychologically gonna think
That's gross.
that looks gross, or there's something wrong with that, or whatever the hell, because I already know what normal eggs look like. But if I've never looked what normal eggs look like, then I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's all just psychological.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The USDA began setting grade standards for the external appearances of certain foods. For example, no more than 4% of peas in a can of canned peas could be discolored. And in order for apples to be graded as US extra fancy, they must be colored 50% striped or partially red. These grading standards determine the quality of food based solely on appearance.
But
Lame.
the one on like the most like lime greenish looking one, that one still probably tastes good.
They all taste delicious. They all just taste like different stages in their ripeness. That's it. From my experience.
Yeah.
To me, the one that says pretty good tastes better than the one that says extra fancy.
Is the extra fancy one colored though?
Probably. Look, partially red.
Yeah. Huh. That's weird.
And to be honest, the ones that are bright red taste the worst to me. To me personally.
Yeah. Interesting.
I like a little yellow in my apple.
But throughout this time, journalists continued to uncover more harmful properties
Lobotomy.
associated with dyes and ingredients
It
used in
looks like that's what
food,
they're doing.
drug, and cosmetic products. Then, in 1937, disaster struck. A Tennessee drug company began advertising the benefits of a new drug to treat infections. But the product was untested and was found to have toxic ingredients after over 100 patients died.
Jesus.
The newly created
you claim something if you
FDA
haven't
quickly
tested it?
enacted the Food, Drug, and Cosmetics Act. And unlike the 1906 law, only the use of certified dyes would be permitted by law. Regulations continued to strengthen, and the list of certified colors was frequently updated due to safety concerns.
There are 9 certified colors that are approved for use in the United States. And the FDA has a chart with those 9 colors.
And these colors are prominent across the food industry, even in foods you may not expect. When you think about the color of typical pickles in a jar, you probably picture a bright yellow-green color like these. Although pickles are naturally green, this bright hue is the result of food dye. Yellow dye number 5 and 6. This dye keeps skin from fading while on shelves. Uncolored pickles, on the other hand, are much less vibrant and look like this.
Yeah.
Now, what color do you think
Okay, which one would you rather eat, even if you didn't know this information?
That's hard to say, but my mind would go to the bright yellow.
Not mine. Mine would go to the other one.
Yeah, but maybe it's because you already know that means there's no artificial stuff in it.
I wouldn't naturally be like, oh wow, that looks less bright, so I want that. Or that has no dye, I want that.
But I wouldn't be thinking the dye. To me, it just looks like, more bright, lively color means that it tastes better.
Interesting.
That's just how my mind works, maybe from other stuff.
Maybe it's because I know how to make pickles and I know how they just look. that is what my brain would want.
That's what I would think too.
of when it comes to oranges? Obviously the color orange, right? But that isn't always the case. In warmer climates, ripe oranges are actually green.
We went to an Airbnb recently in Oakhurst, which is like up north, and they had a bunch of trees out front, and one of them had those on there. Remember when I like kind of scratched it and I was like, it's a citrus. I know I could see it's a citrus, but like I wasn't for sure what it was.
Yeah.
Fucking orange.
It was an orange?
It had to have been. It looked exactly like that.
Huh.
And we saw a bunch of deer that would come every morning and evening.
They pulled that tree down.
The plum tree.
Yeah.
They were like chewing on the plums on another tree that was like closer to us. And they knocked it down. And it was so fucking cool seeing animals that close.
Yeah.
In the wild.
We saw a black bear too.
Yeah. I spotted it. Brian was terrified.
Yeah, I've never seen a bear in person before.
I was like, get my phone.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. We might post something of that later on the blog channel, so you make sure to follow. But
yeah.
And many residents of equatorial communities have never even seen an orange in food stands. Only in cooler temperatures does this green pigment
That's
die
so
off,
wild.
revealing an orange color.
I had no idea.
However, consumers in these areas associate green with an unripe
Yeah.
fruit. So, in order to make oranges sellable in the US and European market, farmers in warmer states like Florida, where 70% of the US citrus supply comes from, and Texas often artificially dye them orange. However, the dye is banned in California and Arizona.
What?
Salmon
That
is
one did confuse me because we've seen orchards that have orange.
It's probably because
Oranges.
it's
What am
not
I
a
saying?
it's not as hot of a climate here as like Florida and Texas.
I know. I'm not trying to like explain. I'm just saying that we've seen them naturally growing and they are orange. So that one kind of confused me a bit. But that was in SoCal. I think maybe a little bit more up north. I'm not saying all of them, but the ones we saw were green, and that threw me for a loop because I didn't know that. But it makes sense.
another unsuspecting
This is
food that
another one.
relies on dyes to make sales. Unlike wild salmon that is naturally pink, farm-raised salmon is naturally gray.
Wow.
The meat from wild salmon is pink because their diet consists of naturally pigmenting compounds from krill and shrimp. But farm
Why? My guy.
Our dog's scared.
Not our dog.
Or the
Moose.
dog that's here is scared her. I want to keep that in. But
Yeah, and I don't
actually,
care.
since it's on salmon, I do notice so much when we get the wild Alaskan salmon. The color is so much like, well, it's like brighter and more pink than the other one.
Yeah.
It just looks more like tasty. But
Every time we go and buy fish, Brian sees the wild salmon and the farm salmon, and he's like, I swear it never fails. So I'm actually shocked you're saying this. He goes, why is that one more bright than that one? And
I don't say that anymore.
well, the last time we got it, you did, and that was like 2 weeks ago.
Shut up.
So yeah, you've gone 2 weeks without saying it because we haven't gone. But and then he goes, and I say, because Brian, this one has coloring added, and this one doesn't.
But we
And
get
it's
the
wild.
brighter one.
Yeah, that one's wild caught. The
Yeah.
one that we get.
So it doesn't have coloring.
Yeah, it doesn't. That's how it's not. I always say like that's how it naturally looks.
But
and
so-
this is with the color added, and it's farm raised. And then he's like, wow. And I'm like, we're gonna have this conversation again in a week. Promise.
Whatever. Let's continue.
Sorry.
salmon are fed food pellets with astaxanthin, an FDA-approved dye, in order to turn them pink. This is because consumers have been shown to prefer darker shades of pink and will pay up to $1 more per pound for a darker color compared to lighter hues.
Fish is a huge problem when it comes to deception. You've got fish that's caught in Alaska, for example, sent to Asia for manipulation, sent back to Alaska, and then sent to the States for consumption in
terrible.
sushi bars.
Some wheat breads, cheeses, and others contain dyes as well.
By regulating this kind of food coloring or the use of food dyes, government is trying to protect people's health by stopping the introduction of harmful substances. But at the same time, this kind of regulation was adjusted so that this regulation does not affect the food industry in a devastating way. They don't want to ban or prohibit all of the synthetic dyes or prohibit the entire food coloring process.
They should.
Today, some companies are experimenting by slowly removing synthetic dyes from foods. Instead, they're moving towards the less vibrant, natural dyes.
Like turmeric.
For example, Subway recently stated it would stop using artificial dye to color banana peppers and use turmeric to maintain the bright
Turmeric,
yellow
yeah.
appearance
Yeah.
instead. And Panera Bread removed the use of dye in its mozzarella cheese, which turned it from having a bright white color to a yellowish hue.
The standard the government uses is a reasonable standard. So they don't have to be foolproof, 100% proven safe, but they have to be shown to be reasonably safe. So we allow these little exceptions to the
Why not just go for the natural thing in the first place that is completely safe? Maybe it costs more to utilize that product.
I cannot imagine that adding something is cheaper than just not adding it.
Or adding a natural substance like turmeric and stuff like that.
Right. Well, that would be more expensive. Adding turmeric than dye.
It is? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why. Yeah.
But how about you just don't add anything and you let the item speak for itself? And I do feel like we live in a time where it's like almost inexcusable. Like people would rather eat the ugly thing knowing it's healthier, in my opinion. I'm not talking about everybody, but like I feel like people are more aware of what they're eating nowadays.
It's starting to happen more, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But
it's almost becoming like more popular to look for the healthier avenue of food.
Yeah, and it just takes a couple years to rewire our brains and be like, okay, actually that one is not that bad.
Not associate the color of it with like the healthiness.
Yeah. But I mean, you know.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening anytime soon.
100% rule, no risk rule, in order to accommodate a modern food system.
I will say that farmers markets or like fruit, veggie stands do look different here than in other countries. And I don't mean like, sorry, I misspoke. I didn't mean farmers markets. I meant like fruit stands in the grocery stores here and the veggie stands. They look different than what you would see in other countries. Other countries, it's not as like shocking in your face.
Yeah.
It's just kind of is what it is.
Yeah. Stuff tastes better over there, though, in my opinion.
You know, yeah, for sure. Either better or the same. It's not. It doesn't taste worse. And then here you walk into a grocery store and it feels like you're going into like a second grade classroom of colors.
Yeah.
Of having foods that are manufactured in different colors and taste and a variety of foods. But the problem with that is beyond just the questions of deception and safety is the question of, is this the kind of food system we want?
No.
All right.
I wish they dove a little deeper on the red dye 40 because of all the food added, like colorings, that's the one that they say is like the worst.
And the one they probably use like the most.
Yeah, I mean, there are things that we use red dye in here that in other countries we were kind of looking at the ingredients and
it wasn't in there.
Yeah, they look like
paprika. Wait, you got like hot Cheetos or something, or some type of spicy chip?
I didn't get them, but I saw at the mart like they had, and they used paprika.
Yeah, it was in Spain, right, or something?
I think it's Australia.
Spain or Australia, yeah.
You're like, yeah, same thing. No, I'm just kidding. But it's like, why can't you just do that here? You know? Maybe I wouldn't be addicted to hot Cheetos if you just took out the red dye.
I mean, I'm sure it has to do with profits.
No, I know.
And,
I know the answer.
I mean, it has to do with something like that. But hope you guys enjoyed that one. That was a cool video.
I want to know if somebody who has visited here and ate the same things here versus back home, and you know there's coloring and dyes in it, what did it taste different to you?
Did you taste the difference?
Did it taste better or worse, or the exact same?
Let us know in the comments.
Yes.
But yeah, like and subscribe, guys, all right? And jump over to the vlog channel. We appreciate you all. Peace.
Ciao.